And we are live. Welcome to the SEO and AI news for week 26. That is last week. I've gathered all the cool things I found into one place. We're going to go through it. My name is Frederick Drost. We've got Linus Alenius and Emil Valgren. All of us work at Precis Digital, where we do some of the best SEO in the business. So let's just jump right into it. First one here is pretty straightforward. Google AI mode finally rolling out to all users in the US. So you don't have to be signed in, I think, or at least you have to be signed in, but you don't have to opt in for the labs. Again, what this means is we're going to see a lot more Search Console data in the US for AI mode. In previous video, we discussed how that is being tracked. So in AI mode, you will see position. You will not see that in AI overviews. That's just one giant position for all the source links. So that's the difference. Again, no way to actually filter on that data. So you kind of have to look in manually. And I mean, I guess not. I mean, if it's AI mode and it's still a button, there's no way for us to know if that position or impression is in AI mode or not. So it's really weird. Google doesn't want us to know that. But you might see, yeah, you'll see more people using AI mode. So that'll be very interesting. We'll get a lot of insights on that, et cetera, et cetera. And then you, Linus, you came with this one, another SEO isn't dead post.
But I mean, the article itself doesn't really bring anything new, I'd say. It's basically what we've done probably won't work in the future. But I just thought this quote was incredible, to be honest. How it isn't dead, but it's being discontinued. SEO isn't dead, it's being deprecated. I think that's a great quote and really is gets at the truth of our business currently and like where it's going to be. Old or legacy SEO, as they call it here, still works, will also work in the future, but it's something that will be deprecated along the way and won't be thinking in this way in the future, probably.
Well, yeah, I guess we won't know that for sure, but I feel like there is this. This is such a cool discussion to have because, like, first of all, what is legacy SEO? You can get into that, but I'm like, when you say what we do now won't work in the future, I feel like that's always been the case for SEOs, and probably also all other digital marketing. I think, except I feel like those tools just kind of get better and more net granular compared to what we do. So like I love those. I've shared some internally some case studies around. Well, what like just legacy things that actually help. Last week we talked about switching you don't have an H1 in your page, switching that H2 that should be an H1 to H1 actually increased traffic by like 20% or something. I would call that legacy. But again, if there's any tiny little bit of code in AI crawler's understanding of your page or Google saying H1s have more value in terms of like what keywords and ranking, I mean, that's all you need. So maybe we'll never get away from actual SEO. I always like the code S search everywhere optimization is what SEO means now. So that's probably where SEO is heading. Any insights on this, Emil? Any opinions you want to share?
No, not really. No, but for real, like I don't really have any insight. I think it's still evolving, and I think, as you mentioned, it depends upon how we kind of where we ground legacy SEO and how we phrase that. But some things we would probably never escape, like crawling and a technical review of that. Like, there is still something going on there. Like,
Yeah.
Google most probably use or train the model based on index data, right? So indexation and crawling still needs to happen. And that's a big part of classical legacy SEO as well. So I don't know, but I don't see that we will have to start working like 100% of what we do will be deprecated. I don't see it that way.
Yep.
I just see that like the output format is gonna change basically.
Yeah, that's the whole reason we're having these lovely discussions is to keep updating how we do SEO. So continue watching, subscribe if you
But
don't want to lose in the game.
I do want to say it's not like I believe we'll be out of a job. Like that's not really what I'm
No.
saying. I also don't think crawling is SEO, because if so, then any developers doing crawling wouldn't be doing SEO. I think a lot of the things that we do within SEO isn't inherently SEO either. I just think, and I think what you said, Fred, kind of shows that it is dead, because you talk about SEO as now search everywhere optimization. If you need to clarify that it's not about search engines anymore, like, there's a shift.
Yep.
I think that's what they're getting at here as well. Like what we know is SEO currently, clicks, impressions, keyword focused. That won't be the future. We have news down here that will show that, like, with the algorithm here that you're hovered on, it's also showing that, like, it's becoming less and less keyword focused, and we're thinking more about semantics.
Yep.
So I think not dead, but dying.
Good. Okay, slowly dying. Yes, terrible. That's a great segue, Linus. Thank you for that. Into the next one here, which is so, like, as he said, yeah, Google's MUVERA algorithm, which represents some advancement in terms of just ranking content, understanding user intent, and again, just read through it. The takeaway here is the shift from keyword based to vector based. And there is another post down here talking about the danger of optimizing just for vector, but all in all, what they're trying to do is aligning with user intent and context, right? So we cannot move away from, I mean, if you're, I feel like there's this part where some SEOs just make useful content, and others are like, we can do everything programmatically with vectors and being too machine-like, and there's a middle ground there that is the sweet spot. And again, just because Google is like, we're more into vector-based intent alignment, that doesn't mean we should just do that and forget that content needs to be helpful, and that there is also user metrics that Google will look at, and this is part of that too. So just have a read of this. I think this is probably a good understanding of where Google is heading from a top level overview. Yes, oh yeah, this one. Love this one here. So Google is showing site names in overview, AI overviews, and it's starting to also look at show authors. And so this is something we've been discussing in this series of videos, that I don't mind AI overviews, I don't mind AI mode, but if publishers are not getting at least, like, okay, we have a source link, but I don't even know that. Like, give me at least the site name and brand name so we get a little bit of exposure for the content my experts have written. And they're starting to do that. I think they've heard the publishers' cry for help. So showing authors, showing site names is being tested. Hopefully it'll stay. And there's also another article or piece of news here talking about, let me see if I can find it actually. AI overviews appearing. I'm going to jump around here. Maybe I should move this up to the next one. So AI overviews appearing in the middle of the SERP and having more of a rich snippet look. So actually like summary plus a URL underneath. So it is an AI overview, but it looks like a featured snippet. Sometimes it's at position 5, 4, sometimes at the top. That is more publisher friendly, more clickable. I like that. So thank you, Google, if you're listening, for going that direction. It could have gotten worse, you know. They just removed source links. That would have been terrible. And speaking of this, there's an increase in AI overviews appearing in that position 4 here. In this case, it's 567% increase. So that's big. And it's lower in the SERPs. And I guess that's also just the same, a response. I think they're testing it, but a response to people maybe complaining. So Google is listening at least. By the way, Brody SEO is the one sharing this on Twitter. He also has something called SERP Alert on Twitter, and one of the best timelines in terms of SERP changes. So follow him, definitely worth it. Next up, we've got people on Twitter, this time Matt Diggity, love that name, sharing, again, I think just kind of a small case study on how to dominate AI overviews, how to get, become source links. And again, this is very straightforward. I feel like it's identifying gaps in AI visibility, target those keywords, content optimized for AI without fluff. Big one. I'm actually looking into a few clients right now and saying, you have too much fluff. We don't need 2 paragraphs on how many colors your chairs you have, So fluff should be removed. I love the including TLDR summaries at the top. That is something I'm implementing for all, like, because that is such a rich feature, like a rich snippet thing, showing just the list and then deep diving makes it clickable. It's AIs and other, and Google seems to like that. But overall, it's pretty. A lot of this is still classic SEO. I think something we've discussed, Linus, is moving away from, oh, we need to target that keyword, to looking at the topic and answering questions that might not have search volume or any keyword data. So we're moving into that, and I like that. That means we're actually writing useful content. People are asking this question somehow, somewhere, just not in Google.
What do we mean with fluff?
Good question there. I think it's if it might be useful to know that we have, let's say we have these chairs, we have them in 7 colors, and here are they. If you don't link to them, first of all, what's the point? Secondarily, if you write a lot of content around those colors, which is just, we have the couch in orange, which is great, blah, blah, blah. We have also yellow chairs. That all the you have also, we also have, and also, and it just doesn't need to be there. Just list the colors, link to them. I feel like that's a definition of fluff.
I think fluff for me is if you have an article and you've summarized or you've gotten everything you wanted to say across in 800 words, but then you looked into how many words you need to rank first for the target topic, and that would be a lot more than anything above 800, or is fluff. I think fluff is when you write when you write more than you need to rank better.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. That would be programmatically easy to actually measure as well.
Can I play devil's advocate a bit here?
I love it when you do that.
You should.
Okay. So based on initial findings, at least of what I've seen, referral traffic from LLMs is very small in comparison to general organic search when looking into GA4.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that what we define as fluff actually makes us rank quite well in standard organic results that drives in like 1,000 clicks per, I don't know, per month. And then removing that fluff makes us pop up more in AIO overviews. That increases traffic from like 50 to 100 clicks. So we could potentially lose a big short of organic clicks by optimizing for AI overviews then.
Yeah, and LLMs actually as well. But even if you include those, Google might still have a bigger percentage. So that's a prioritization issue. But I've also I tend to declare Google doesn't like fluff either. So that's what I've seen, at least, is we've in cases at Precis, is we clean up, we make it more useful, we remove the fluff. Google likes it too. The blue links algorithm, so to speak. It's like and when you see the old school fluffy keyword stuff content, I feel Google just flags that as like, I think Google will just flag it as you're trying too hard, low quality.
But I guess like if we call it multi-reporting now on landing page level, it's becoming more and more important. If I change this, how does that affect traffic from like referrals, LLMs, but also organic, to get a sense of like where everything is heading and what if something is positive and a negative in 2 spaces.
I'm actually learning a lot about, just I know we're opening this discussion up, but internally I'm learning a lot about being more concise, because I tend to either talk to my computer and then it writes it out and AI rewrites it, or I will write something down in a slide presentation and I ask AI to make it more concise, and then I read and I go, yeah, I could have said this in 1 paragraph less, or instead of 4 lines, it's 2, and it gets the point across. So I'm becoming more concise, and I feel like if you take your article and make it more concise, you'll see that AI is really good at that, and it's like, wow, I didn't need to write that much stuff. So it depends. Do you need a lot of nuance or not in your article? And does it match the user intent? How often should I water my bonsai? Do I need a lot of fluff and granularity? Not really. When, period, time, how many a day is done? It should be relatively quickly. You could probably discuss the different types of bonsais and periods of time and blah, blah, blah. But is that really what people need to? And could you link to that granularity in another article? But yeah, we'll follow up on the fluff. we'll follow up on the fluff here. I think that's one of the big subjects. And it kind of goes against some other guides saying that AIs like detailed and in-depth. So we still need to be detailed and go in-depth. Like an article that goes a bit more in-depth can be better, perceived as better by LLMs according to some studies. But in-depth does not mean adding more fluff. So again, I think your definition, Linus, is tip-top. Yes. All right. Next up, key insights here from Andrej Karpathis. This is not directly SEO, but more related to how one can work with SEOs and AI systems. And again, this is just, he's going from prompt engineering to context engineering is what he thinks we should be doing. And I like the idea he's mentioning, for example, that it's not just about prompt engineering. We're also adding data points and API things, and it's kind of what we're doing in essence. If we want to create briefs or maybe have some sort of AI-based content we can work on to make better, we don't just ask an AI to do that. We actually give it a lot of context information, whatever it needs to from different endpoints, and merge that together. And I think that is what is good. So it's just more of a very I hate saying nerdy, but in-depth article about if you're working with AI as a tool, this is definitely a must-read. So have a look at that. This one, Ahrefs, again, coming out with some top-notch content marketing here. AI traffic quality study. So not so much, they came out with a study around like conversion rates and things like that. But what's interesting here is popular sites are popular, and they will remain popular if search systems change. So I don't think it was a surprise that if you have a lot of organic search compared to someone who doesn't, you also get mentioned a lot more in LLMs and AI search systems. Question is why? Is there just some kind of large-scale correlation going on here? And why does LLM care? Right? Like they are not looking at your traffic. But if you have a lot of traffic, you're probably being mentioned more on the web. You'll probably be mentioned a lot more often in that context on the training data. That's like the quick, simple answer here. So, but again, interesting study. Have a look at it. And also, I think the Ahrefs one mentions LLM traffic has bounces more often and visits fewer pages. And I responded to that on Twitter saying this might be because AI is driving people further down the funnel to a point where they know what they want more. And thus the frequent bouncing, not so sure, could be indecisiveness or quality of the referral. But the fewer pages means they probably might need, they know what they want. They've already gotten through a lot of decisions and the funnel and the bottom here. And they're like, well, this is the final step. That was my quick conclusion there. What about the bounce? Any thoughts on that? More frequent bounces from LLMs? Theories? Well, yeah, it could just be this is a bad referral, right? That would be a quick and easy one. But are they really? Maybe you get your answer to whatever you needed. That's also like
probably, I don't know.
Like if the answer and the intent can be like answered in 2 paragraphs, I would expect a high bounce rate because people read it, go thanks, and move back, and then a few convert. But some of my highest earning traffic posts on my own website, they have a high bounce rate because they answer the question, then they just go back. They don't need further, So we'll think more about it in the shower.
I agree. Like it sounds like if it's output from an LLM, then a link to somewhere will probably be more like if a user visits, it's more in terms of validation, I would guess, rather than research. That would have been previously from organic. And if it's validation, I would expect bounce rate to increase as well. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and again, this is not like we're looking at search is 63.7% bounce rate on average and 67.8 for LLM. So it's not like we're doubling any crazy numbers here, but it is just more. So yeah, the average is still high for like overall it's 62. So bouncing is just part of the deal, I suppose. But yeah, very interesting study. Have a look, everyone.
I think it's very interesting that there are two reasonings on bounce rate. To say either it's great
Yeah, it's
or it's shit.
that's fair. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I think it's all about context, which is why I also think we're not going to be replaced very quickly by an AI because it needs a lot of context. Good point. Thank you, Linus. Again, this is the just to have. I'll show people that's looking at this video. So this is SERP Alert from Brody SEO. Great follow on Twitter. This is what I mentioned earlier, the featured snippet, but it's actually an AI overview, and there's a. Let me pop that up in full screen so we can see it here. So this is the kind of stuff I would like AI to do, is to actually. This is smart use of AI in search because it's summarizing the article, but there's more context needed, so you do click. But instead of relying on what's already on the page, beforehand, people were so hyper-focused on, well, that section, so we'll mimic that section for a competitor to get the rich snippet feature. But now AI is introduced, and it's harder to figure out what went on between. So now it's more like, let's focus on the content, and then what other factors are being picked up here. And I like that use. I think it's good, and you still get the click and the visibility. So good on you, Google. Screaming Frog. After this latest update, it seems like weekly they're posting a new guide. That's their strategy, honestly. How to crawl with AI prompts. Bit of history is Screaming Frog came out with custom JavaScript where you could connect to OpenAI and run prompts. And now they have it like more of a more user-friendly interface where you can just insert prompts and choose some settings and stuff. So although custom JavaScript gives you still more flexibility. So yeah, have a look at this guide. Screaming Frog, still the best crawling tool out there, almost. And then finally here, we've got Marie Haynes. So this kind of, from the top, there's a good little story here today. The dangers of over-optimizing for vector search. So we talked about Google moving into this vector embedding-based search matching intents, but also using user signals. And it's this kind of thing where it's very dangerous to just completely rely on vector embeddings and kind of trying to get the best similarity scores, and then you end up with something that's actually not useful. So Google might rank it really well first, but then the user metrics comes in, people don't like it, people don't interact with the page, and it just moves down. So it's one of those, I feel like people might coming out with, we have this cool new vector embedding tool for your AI writer, and it's awesome. And then people just rely 100% on that. They get short-term benefits and long-term negative effects. And once Google has decided all your content, users hate it, it might be very harder to get back up than to just optimize an article. If you have good user metrics and you're just missing a bunch of other signals, that seems easier to work with. So that's the way I want to move forward as well, is really have this holistic view and make sure we remember what Google is and wants.
I think I have 2 points here. One is I think I read about this law that's called Betteridge law of headline, which is if a headline ends in a question mark, you can answer it by saying no.
Yeah, true.
And I think here because the thing is, if the person writing the article was sure about their statement, they would not have the headline be a question; it would be a statement. And I think this is also kind of true here because sure, it could do more harm than good, but only if you're a terrible SEO specialist.
Well, yeah, but you might actually be very technically endowed, where it's like can create vector optimize and similarity scores, and we can get our article to match like to one, and it's really great. And you forget the rest, right? So I agree, it's not.
But then you're not good at your job.
Yeah,
if that's what it's the same with like what I've experienced with Surfer SEO too, for example. If you're too bogged down in technical metrics and you have that take priority over your own gut or what you would feel is good, especially with qualitative things, then you won't perform as well.
Yep.
Because you can't make anything qualitative as quantitative as you'd like it to be.
Yeah, yeah, and this reminds me of something which was, I think, 6 months ago, and I basically every time I do an SEO audit and I see informational guides and content, I always recommend make a table of contents and make it sticky if you can. And Google was like, that's not a ranking factor, and doobity doop, and people, there was really no case studies around this, but it all ties into people can find what they want and they might move on or stay on page or whatever happens with that. It's so useful. I love them personally. And if that's a good user metric to send back to the engine that, oh, this was interacted with in a different way, then that's good. So that becomes kind of an indirect ranking factor. So, and people, well, we need a case study before we do this table of contents. And like, why? Do you know it's useful? Don't do so. Yeah, it ties into the gut feeling. And I think as an SEO expert, when I Google things, I look at the article differently and I go, hey, that was useful, you know? Thank you. So we should definitely trust our gut. I think that's a really good message to end on this SEO news video here is trust your gut as an SEO specialist, especially if you have experience and have worked with clients. If you're new, rely on people more senior and their gut and their justifications, try and justify more, but we should definitely rely on our gut as well, 100%. And clients should trust senior specialists' gut as well.
Yeah, I would say trust your gut unless you have stomach problems.
Fair enough. And on that final note, thank you, everyone watching. There will be links and summaries of all these in the video description. So if you want to read up, which you should definitely read up, we're just covering it top level. Go down, get those, click on those, bookmark them. Thank you, Linus and Emil, for joining. Please subscribe and like. There'll be videos every week. We cover AI and SEO into one. You don't miss a thing. We can stay on top of things from here. So have a great day and see you all next week.